Good morning. Thank you for joining me for today's stamping session. It's Sunday, so it's time for our regular session. If you're feeling a bit confused about the timing of this, yes, we have changed or lost daylight saving, so I'm probably an hour later than what you're used to if you're not in Australia. It's one of those days where I guess for the next week I'm going to be feeling jet lagged until we adjust to the different times again. But that's okay, we can still craft. So let's show you the card that we're going to make today. There we go, that's our card, and it is a fun fold card. So it's got the belly band which is going to slide off, and then it opens up like that. So this is an angled gatefold, and it doesn't really matter which way you fold it over. It's just because I've got the bear stamp looking like he's coming out that I like it that way, but it doesn't really matter. You could fold it whichever way you like. So let me show you what we're going to be using today. Now, on my original card, I had used Beauty of the Earth DSP, but I don't have any more of that left, and I'm trying not to hoard my paper and use it up. So I don't want to order another pack because that's about to expire. So I am going to change the DSP, and I'm sure you're never going to be able to guess what DSP I'm using instead. So the stamp sets that we're using, Wildlife Wonder, and I'm going to be using On the Horizon. Then I've also got, if I can pick them up, my good old Larry Circles dies. Okay, so that's going to be for that bit there. And yet again, I'm using the tree from the Groves dies. So you've seen a lot of those. I really like those trees. I need to use some of the other things in there, but we'll get there. Oh, and let's do it. The DSP. I'm using Horizon's DSP. I'm sure you're all very shocked about that one, but I couldn't help myself. It just worked with the animals. Alright, now I have put the measurements in the description. So let's start. So with our piece of DSP, we're going to score at 8.5 centimeters, and if you're working in inches, that's going to be 3 3/8 inches, and we're doing that on both sides. So we could figure out what the measurement is on the other side, but the easiest way is to just flip it around and score. Now we have to get a little bit scientific, so we need a ruler and a pencil, and you're going to mark down 4 centimeters, which would be your 1.5 inches on either side. Hopefully we're going to be able to see my mark. And we're going to mark in 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch along the bottom. And again, we're doing that on both sides. Now I'm going to cut my angles. So my first cut, I'm going to go from that 4 centimeter mark to my score line. And we'll do the same on the other side. So from my 4 centimeter to the score line. And then we're going to go from that 2.5 centimeter mark up to the 4 centimeter mark, or that's going to just be the corner that we've just cut. And again, the same on the other side. So as long as you've made your marks and you can actually see your marks, this isn't difficult cutting. And then before we put the cutting away completely, I'm going to take my designer series paper. I'm just trying to see now. Think about if it's directional. When I'm going to stick this, I'm going to have it going that way. So that to me looks like a bit of sky, maybe sunset or sunrise. So I do want it that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the two pieces of paper at the same time. So because when we've got them on our card, we want the one going that way and the other one going that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them together so that I've got sort of a right side and a wrong side the same way up. And I'm hoping that this is going to work the way that I think it's going to work, because otherwise we could cut each of them separately, but I'm trying to save time. So here's hoping it's going to, so if I cut it like that, then yeah, it should work. Let's see. Sometimes I'm not so clever when I try things when I've thought them through, but I haven't actually tried them. Okay, so on my designer series paper, I'm going to again mark 4 centimeters down and 1.5 centimeters in. Okay, so hang on. Sorry, I'm just really thinking about which side I'm doing the marks on. I'm going to do it on this side because that's going to be my front. Okay, so 4 centimeters and my 2.5 centimeters in. Okay. And keeping those together and hoping that my logic is working, we're going to we just want to make sure that they're exactly together. Okay, I'm cutting. Cut there. And cut there. And I guess we now have the moment of truth. Did this work? And yes, it did. Okay, that was pretty scary. Right, now we're done with all our cutting and scoring. So if I fold those along the score lines, I'm getting my angled gatefold. Let's just do some stamping before we get into assembling. Alright, now just we can see, it doesn't really matter, but just if you want to have a definite which side is which, okay, they're going to be like that. Now I've got early espresso over here, so, and these are new ink pads, so they may be very inky. Hang on, before I stamp the bear, I've got some of these little, like, I don't know, bulrushy leafy things. I'm going to just stamp along the bottom. There we go. Now we can stamp my bear, and I want him looking like he's walking across my panel. So there we go. He can go there. I'm going to put my wolf lounging on his rock over here. And we've got some of the little grassy bits growing at the rock. Now, while oh no, something terrible has happened. I've lost one of my circles. Hang on. You can see I cut it out because that's where it was. Okay, we're carrying on. Anyway, so I was going to stamp my wolf onto my circle, but I'll sort him out afterwards. Now, on this one, I did have the owl sitting up in the trees over there, so we'll still put him up at the top over here. Or maybe we'll have him over this side. And my latest obsession is little birds. I don't know whether you're into the little bird thing, but ever since we've got the waves and this in the horizon with the birds, I just love these little birds flying everywhere. So we're going to stamp some little birds on here too. And they can just be flying across. Right, now the last thing that I need to stamp before we stop stamping is the sentiment. And I'm using this Sending Birthday Wishes from the Wildlife Wonder, but if you looked at my card over here, if I put Sending Birthday Wishes, it wasn't sitting nicely in there, and we sort of lost a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just use the birthday wishes, and oh my God, I suppose we should put that onto the block. So I'm taking a little bit of sticky tape and I'm sticking it over the sending. So now when I ink it up, I've only got the birthday wishes. Pull off the sticky tape. It looks like I got a little bit of ink that I don't want on there. And then we're going to try and center that, which is pretty hard when you're only looking at part of the stamp, but let's see how I go. There we go, that looks good to me. Always hold your breath when you do that, because it sometimes works when you're by yourself, but doesn't work when you're on camera. Okay, we're going to just wait and see if I find my circle, otherwise I may need to cut another one quickly. Right, now assembling the card. So we're going to, alright, so I was going to do my inside first, but then what I need is I've got another little strip of DSP, which I had my 2 pieces of DSP left over, which were actually that wide. So I cut my circle out of one, and okay, that's the wrong piece. I cut my circle out of that one, there you can see, and I've cut just an edge off that one, which I've then cut down. I'm going to use that at the bottom of my insert, just to make it a little bit more exciting on the bottom. So, you know, you can use whichever scrap of paper you've got left over, and this obviously is now running in the opposite direction to those, but I'm happy with that. It just gives me that pretty little bottom bit. I don't know, this is quite a masculine card, so do we want to say that it's a pretty little bottom on a masculine card, or are we just going to call it a decorative edge? So that's going to stick in there, and this middle bit here is your standard size card stuff or card base. Then we're going to take that piece and look at that, it worked cutting the two together. And this one's going to go onto this side. Now, I've got my piece for that. Okay, let me just have one quick look around here. Otherwise, I'm going to go cut another piece because we really need my other circle so that I can finish the card. Let's just see if that's going to. This is. Okay. I'm really sorry, you've got to give me 1 second. I just need to cut another circle. Okay, and this messed it up a little bit because of course I couldn't find the same piece of DSP, but that's okay. So now we're going to stamp our wolf onto the circle. And from my Grassy Groves trees, I'm going to position the trees so that they're on my circle and framing the wolf. Now, let's see where this is going to stick because it's not quite the way I was planning it, but I just don't want the trees covering up too much of him. He can be sitting in amongst the trees, but we still want to be able to see him. Okay, that'll do. And And then we're going to just trim that around the circle. That didn't work very well at all, but what I'll do is we'll just put a little bit of glue on that bit there and stick it there so that it looks like there's still a bit of trees coming through. Or I could just take it off completely and put on a new piece, which I think will look better. Okay. Sorry peeps, this is one of those days where things just aren't going according to plan. Alright, so maybe what we'll do is we'll use that side of trees. That'll be better, yes. Okay, this was going to be such a nice card until everything started going wrong. There we go. That should get us back on track. Okay, that's how it's going to be, and we'll just stick that onto my scalloped circle. And then you're going to take your piece for the belly band, and it's not going to match up exactly, but that's alright. So we're going to have that just fold it around. Now just be careful, you want it to be able to slide, so you don't want it too tight, but you don't want it so loose that it's going to fall off. Bit of glue on either end, and we're going to stick that over. And that's probably why the owl should have been in the other corner, but I don't mind that, because then when you slide the belly band off, you're going to have a surprise owl hiding behind it, so that's okay. Alright, so that was more difficult than it should have been, but I think the difficulty came in with me losing pieces and decorating the circle rather than the actual fold of the card. So hopefully you've got the directions on how to make the angled gatefold card, and that will just slip back on, and you can go and make another one. So thank you for joining me. I will see you again next Sunday, and hopefully things won't go disappearing on me. Have a good week, and I hope that you adjust to daylight saving. See you next week. Bye.